Sorry if that's loud. Okay. So yeah, so now you can see my face, sorry. So we got the 10 planets, or Aleph, Mem, and Shin, right? Which is spirit, soul, body, which is Pluto, spirit, soul, Neptune, body, Uranus, execution, right? And then we still got Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon. And then we have the 12 signs, right? And then we have the 4 worlds, right? Consisting of the 4 core cards, which is the element of the world, each element, 4 elements of the world, an ace, right? A Pluto of that, and then the decans, 9 decans for each suit, right? And we have that 4 times. And the 4 worlds: fire, water, air, and earth, right? We have all of it. All collected for the reading. So anyway, so if we talk about how Uranus stands, right, in relation, let's just look at the cards, right? I'm shuffling them. I'm looking at them right now because right now we're just shuffling because they were all ordered, really make sure we get them mixed up. So if we think about Uranus in relation to all this, so what Pluto would be is the death in the beginning, right? It would be the thing that could spring into waters, right? The way that I like to think about it is like static fuzz, like a sea is static fuzz, right? And if you think about like how a beach is kind of watery, I almost like to think about that as Neptune in a way, but way less solid. This is way in a different way. It's or actually, here's a better way to think about it: is we think about this static ocean, right, being Pluto, right, the ability for death and rebirth, and then it's like eventually a current forms in this, right? Like enough things align to where there's a current. It's almost like that's Neptune, right? Any sort of current, any sort of dream, but any sort of from internal, from just pure spirit, right? What made a wave, right? What made a potential resonate, right? And so if you get enough of that resonate, then there's a seed, right? And that seed is Uranus, right? So we had the sea being Pluto, we had the wave being Uranus, and then the out of that resonant wave, the seed, or being Uranus, because the resonant wave, right, was Neptune, and then Saturn would then be like how that develops, right? It would be the wood of that, right? Like its lifetime, how it develops structure. Let me go get the tea. All right, we had to get tea, so we got tea now. A. So this would be, Saturn would be like the structures that the individual utilizes to do it, right? So this is like the reason that Saturn is more individual, right? It's like Earth is just what makes sense, right? Why is Saturn different than what just makes sense, right? This is a question. Now, let me answer this question. It's like, because what just makes sense to a tree doesn't make sense to a fish, right? So this is where like the seed, right? What is this like essence kind of comes into the play of Uranus, right? And then like its structure, its stability, like the forms that it develops, the places that it could attach to, right? The routes of the methods, right? The patterns, right? Which would be something that's relating in the world, right? With reception as well, but it would be like an expression, right? Like its pure reception would be reception in the Neptune, right? In the wave, in the thing that could become the climate, right? And then Uranus within that develops a seed, right? So that would be the seed, right? That would be a potential manifestation, right? That would be like the full moon, right? Uranus. Because if we think about the new moon, right, this would be just pure potential, right? And this would be the sea, right? And then if we think about the half waxing moon, right, this would be when you could form a wave, right? And then when you get to the full moon, this would be like a seed, like you finally got a physical thing, but then it depends on you to nurture it, right? Like, this is when shit kind of hits the fan, because it's like, are you going to work to develop this, or are you just going to move on, right? It's like, what are you going to do? So Uranus. That wasn't really Uranus we were talking about, but either way. So then Uranus within that would be the moment when you've got an idea and you're connecting to it, right? This would be the part of us that's really fixed on our individuality, right? It's not like the wave, it's not anything that could come out of that. It's really like an expression of who we are in the form that we chose to take, right? And the form that we want to take, right? Whereas like Neptune would be the wave, you know what I mean? The wave that can come out of, this would be the particular form that we chose to take, right? So our individuality in a sort of spiritual way, in that what we chose to identify with in this lifetime, right? So that's why I would associate with their ladder out, in that what do we choose to identify with in a different lifetime, you know what I mean? So Uranus, right? So this would just be like, yeah, the seed, like our seed, right? What is your seed, right? So seed, in general, would definitely be, I feel like, a Uranus thing. And this is why it's like, associated with transform, or like revolutionary, because it's just like what makes sense to you, right? And as humans, we bring so much otherworldly stuff that what we associate with as individuals, it's like, almost like we're trying to make humans even into new forms, like we're right with like cyborgs, with like I don't want to say furries because that seems like going back, but like wings, angels and demons, right? That's such a good realm to think about it in. Or like things like that, paranormal, mystical, like Bublynn, right? All of these things would be like Uranus type things, right? And also, yeah, because they align with like your Neptune, right? The Neptune would be the fact that those resonate with it. The Uranus would be a form, right? But it's not necessarily the structure for that form, right? Saturn would then be like how that would then get through, right? Whereas pure Uranus would just be that could be a thing, you know what I mean? Yeah. Versus like Neptune is still the development of a wave, like almost like Cancer, like just pure Cancer is the water. But if that chooses to be a thing, depends if like Capricorn ever comes into play, which is like the moon cycle, right? Aries is just the pure wave, right? The sea. Um, um, or no, Cancer then is the actual like wave, the wave that's formed, right? Like the sea is Aries, and then the actual wave is Cancer, and then the climate that can develop off a wave if the wave becomes solid enough, right, is Libra, and that's full moon, right? That's Uranus, and then the actual steps developed to take that can take care of that, right, and actually bring that manifest would be Capricorn, which is literally associated with Saturn, right? So yeah. So let's see, Uranus. So yeah, this is all about individuality. This is all about the forms that we're trying to take, right? This is all about bringing new things into being too, right? Because Saturn is an individual way to bring that into being, whereas, hey, we got one. Uranus is more like a mode, right? Like potentially you could bring that mode into other realms. Probably not. I feel like Neptune is what you could bring into other realms, because Uranus would be like the seed, right? So it's like maybe, but it's like there's so many different, like it's like one thing could be in many different locations, you know. Saturn would be like a particular location form, like your way of gaining stability, right? And then the Uranus would like literally just be like the seed, right? So yeah. So now we got cards for what we were talking about, right? We channeled. So Uranus, right? The spirit of Uranus right now, because it's B-Day, right? We got the Fool as the spirit. So this would be just act, right? Go out there, right? Just act. So that would be what Uranus is going through, right? If we channeled Uranus, then this would be what Uranus is associating with, right? That would be the spirit of this. The spirit of Uranus, right? Is the Fool. Which I feel like makes sense, because once you have that seed, it's like go out there, right? It's like we talked about, the full moon is the moment when you need to go and actually act on that, right? And like bring that manifest, because you actually have an idea to act off of, right? Almost just like when you have the sea, Pluto to Neptune, it's like you're just going, right? Same with Uranus to Saturn, right? So it's almost like that. So then if we think about why, like the reason that Uranus is going off of this, we got Leo, right? So it's literally to shine, right? Or at least to be in relationship to what it wants, which makes sense because Uranus, like if we look at the tree of life, right? Uranus is on this side, this is Uranus, and it's on the side of Jupiter and Venus, right? Which is of the things that you attach to. Versus Mars, the way that you're going to gain security, or Saturn, the way you're going to gain security, Mars, the way you're going to go do that, like the multiplying that, and like Mercury, the individual way you're going to do that, like the form you're going to take now to do that, and then Mars, the willpower that you have to do that, and then Saturn, what that will be, right? Like what the guidelines that needs to fit, right? So yeah, so if we think about why this being Leo, like what I'm talking about is, yeah, it's like trying to shine, right? Like the light's on it. It's trying to express itself, right? Because from Neptune, that was pre-expression, and this is pure like expression, right? It's like pre-needing to find form and relation. This is pure self. So why would be Leo, right? And then what this looks like would be Virgo, right? Would just be pure like knowledge, right? Pure dry interaction, like sticking with the past, what was in the past, earth, right? And then being mutable, receptive though, and then yeah, just gaining knowledge over that, right? Yeah, dry, past, earth, you know, like sticking with it. So that's what it would look like. So yeah, so Uranus looks like or if we like channeled it properly, right? Uranus looks like something that's mutable, it's receptive, right? It's gonna do it, but it's receptive to things if you are on its page, right? Virgo, you know what I mean? So that is that makes sense at least for it. And then yeah, the spirit that it's coming from is just a fool, right? Just to do things, just to act, right? Which makes sense because this would be sprouting, like we were talking about. And then yeah, the reason behind this is to shine, which makes sense. That's where it's coming from. It was just subside, right? So we have Leo, or the Fool, Leo, and Virgo, right? A lot of major arcana. And then the energy we have to enhance this, right? The card that we got is Earth, and it's fixed to fix. So the second go around in Taurus, so the Virgo of Taurus. So it means stick with what you love, right? Stick with that. And then, but also be mutable and be receptive, right? The Virgo part of Taurus. Stick with what you love, but be receptive. Don't be too tight in it, right? Stick with what you love, but find new ways to do that. You know what I mean? Stick with what you love, but yeah, just be receptive within that. You know, be loose with it. You know, loosen up with what you love, maybe. But like, yeah, but do like stick with it, right? That's like Uranus. So anyway. Yeah, so I just wanted to do a B-Day reading, a little bit about Uranus. So, just to get a little bit more about it. So we'll do the next week, if we look at our calendar. So the way that this will go around through the decans is it will slowly go backwards. And I'll explain it to you. Maybe I'll make a day-by-day video explaining like how we're going through hours-wise, and maybe even do planetary hours rituals, like connected with that potentially, but I'm not sure. But either way. So I might need to turn this around again. So yeah, it'll go right now. We're on your day, right? Uranus day. So then the next decan will be Tune Day. And then the next decan, this is when I'm starting the calendar, right? Well, spring, Aries will be on B Day, right? Beach Day, Bublynn Beach Day, right? The beach is all associated with rebirth because anything you build on a beach is going to be taken by the wave, right? Hey, Bublynn Beach. Hey, so B-Day, right? Bublynn's decans, right? The calendar, right? Hey, so legit. So yeah, so if we just sum up talking a little bit about Uranus, right? Versus the first four, just to bring a little bit of Kabbalah talk, and then we'll probably try to sum in to see if the tarot cards match with what we're talking about, right? So we have Kether up here, right? This would be Pluto, right? Death, rebirth, the spirit, right? The thing going through the transformations, the phoenix, right? Then we have Neptune, the wave, almost with what you resonate with, like the High Priestess, right? Yeah, and then we have, no, not here, Uranus here, right? The seed, your particular form, and then Saturn, how you gain structure and stability, right? Right? So that's that. And then, yeah, your particular form. Aquarius, what's unique about you, right? Yeah, so then if we bring it to the Dickens, that would be like your particular form. Because it would be like this Pluto would be the yin, right? And the Neptune would be the yin of that. From just the yin of just being a beach and being all this, that would express itself and eventually sees, right? But a lot of uninterpretable, a lot of stuff you can't put your hands on, right? Neptune, right? So then, like the sea, right? That's why it's associated potentially. And then once we get to Uranus, this would be another yin, right? This would be what it goes into, right? The seed, and then Saturn would be that expression, right? The fruit, right? So, and that would depend on like the wood, right? The cycles, the pattern, being able to secure itself, right? To fruit, right? So yeah. So the Uranus is the seed, right? The idea, the individuality, right? The passion behind the fruit, the structure, you know what I mean? So yeah, so this would be, yeah, the spirit of your individuality versus the passion of your individuality, the soul of your individuality versus the expression of it, Saturn, right? Saturn would be like the form you take, and this would be like the seed, right? You know how a seed differs from like, yeah, you know. So yeah, essence versus expression, right? So yeah, so this is about the fool, right? Just expressing, right? Just going out there. So this would be like Plutonic, which kind of makes sense because again, it's just like getting out there, right? Bursting out, right? That's the spirit of Uranus. The reason behind this is to shine, right? It's almost like it's the first topside, like if we think about, it's not quite topside, it's still seed, but it's like almost to Saturn, right? It's almost to fruiting, like, so it's trying to shine. That's why it developed into a seed, right? And then this looks like Hermit. This looks like going in, right? This looks like Virgo. This looks like knowledge, just working with what's around, utilizing tools, utilizing Earth, getting to know, not being picky, just working with what's around, Virgo versus Pisces, Well, Pisces would just get lost in it emotionally, but Virgo is like the actual work, right? So yeah, and then how we can enhance, at least for today, what we got, the enhancing card is Taurus. Stick with what you love, right? And then yeah, be mutable and lax though within that. So yeah, a little bit about Uranus. It's really cool getting to know the outer planets because I don't usually work with them. So yeah, I'm really digging it. Like I really like the system. Yeah. Hey, thanks for tuning in. We're full of Citra. Bublynn, coming in, crushing this art.